Some of our most impactful plays go far beyond the court or field. This is the Net to Net live show.
It's more than just a game.
Welcome all. Welcome back. We're here for, what is this, episode 5?
Yeah.
Episode 5 of this live show. How are you feeling, Monte? How are you doing?
It's been a super busy last 2 to 3 weeks. We're at that point of the semester now. It's getting dark at 5 p.m. I hate it, but sports is keeping us afloat.
Yeah, this is the trenches of the semester. This is the worst time to be a student. November, it's all your exams are piling up, all your final assignments. But we're here to give you some relief from that. Take your mind off of it. Entertain you with some sports. And yeah, hopefully give you a solid 50 minutes to listen to. Remove yourself from the reality of the world and immerse yourself in the world of sports. This week in soccer in particular, that wasn't too much because it was the international break. The much dreaded international break. I don't mind it because I get to not watch Manchester United. So that's they can't ruin my weekend. But instead I get to watch Armenia lose to Faroe Islands. No disrespect, but what's happening there? I also got to watch Armenia win against Latvia. And that means we're now in the promotional playoffs for Nations League. Do you know what that means? Probably not. It's not really important. No one really cares about the Nations League, but
It's like a participation trophy.
basically, it's like they tried to make friendlies matter. They tried to make international games matter, and they came up with the Nations League as an idea. Other things in sports, we have San Marino. I don't know if you know. San Marino, the last time, before 2024, the last time they won a competitive game was in 2004. So they haven't won a competitive game in 10 years of existence. And then in 2024, they won 2 games this year. So it's been a very big year to be a San Marino fan. It's crazy. But today we're going to talk about one of the more exciting, probably the most exciting title race in all of soccer. We have the Serie A.
Some of our most impactful plays go far beyond the court or field. This is the Net to Net live show.
It's more than just a game.
Being first, it's a very close race. It's a
Comparison, yeah. It's just everything comes down to every single point, every single game. If you are not bringing it your all, especially compared to your standards as a team, that can throw off your title races completely.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of good teams in this title race. We have Napoli, we have Atalanta, we have Fiorentina, we have Inter, Lazio, and Juventus to round it out. Who do you think has the best chance of winning the Scudetto this year?
It feels like a very basic choice to say because they are the 1 seed right now, but I can't help it. Napoli, okay? The number one thing that stands out is their offensive efficiency compared with their defensive efficiency. They are just such a well-rounded team. I'm looking at the stats right now. They're scoring 1.58 goals per game, and guess how many they concede per game? How much do you think?
Well, when you're talking about their defensive consistency, I'm guessing less than 1, probably?
Less than 1. 0.75 goals they concede. That's incredible. And they've gotten a clean sheet in 58% of their games. If that doesn't say enough, then I don't know what to say. And they're one of 2 teams in all of Serie A to concede less than 10 goals the entire season so far alongside Juventus. So you're already looking at one of the most powerhouse defenses, and honestly they're a very disciplined defense too, not just with the flashy numbers. They're very disciplined, only giving up 2 penalties in 12 games, and they're controlling possession 53% of the time, which is a very solid number. And like I said, very fundamentally sound elite defense, and they have a very nice offense too, headlined by guys like Romelu Lukaku, who's had 4 goals and 4 assists so far this season. And I don't even want to say his name right now, but Kavichka Karaveletsya, okay? Let's just pretend.
That was a solid attempt.
It was okay. 5 goals, 2 assists. The guy, that's going to be his new name. The guy is a baller. And one thing I do want to point out is a very underrated factor in Napoli's success, Antonio Conte. Okay? He's adjusted to the skill set of Napoli's players and adjusted his tactics in recent years. Because in previous years, his offensive system was very based around these widespread formations where you're flanking down the side of the field. And now he's taking advantage of his current skill set. Guys like Lobotka and McTominay, who are very nice passers down the middle of the field, which opens up opportunities for good finishers like Lukaku and the guy.
Yes.
Yeah, you're going to have to fill in the blanks for me there. So now he's in a system where you're overloading the middle of the field, and defensively, in recent years, he's been criticized for a very conservative style of play. But now you're seeing very fast rotations from each end of the pitch, and they got some ballers on defense. I love Di Lorenzo, and again, I don't want to bomb his name, but Buromonio, he's been pretty solid too. But yeah, Napoli right now is my favorite, but like you said, this is a super competitive league. Anything can happen. God knows what could happen in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I think a lot of the most surprising and impressive thing about Napoli's success so far this season is how seamlessly they've been able to replace the striker they lost in the summer. So Victor Osimhen was playing for them last season, and he was valued at like 75, 80 million, if not 100 million. He was a top striker. He was their top scorer last season, the past few seasons, and they were trying to sell him in the summer. You know, they wanted to get some money for him. They were in talks with Chelsea. They were trying to offload him, but then the talks broke down, and it was a really messy situation. The talks broke down, so he didn't get sold, but he also wasn't registered to play for Napoli this season. So he was still contracted in Napoli, but couldn't play for them. It was a really messy, and you have like a 100 million player like sitting right there. So this is like an all-star basically. Imagine in basketball, there's an all-star on your team. He's contracted to the team. You're trying to like trade him, but the trade breaks down, and he's not registered to play for the team. It was a messy situation, and so they loaned him out to Turkey for the season. So he's out there playing in Galatasaray, and they brought in Lukaku to replace him, and it's been seamless. Lukaku's been great. He's proving that once again, for all the whatever the critics have to say, he doesn't perform in big games. He always performs in the Serie A. We've seen that with Inter. We've seen that with Roma. We're seeing that with Napoli right now, and it's been impressive being able to replace such a what's the word, impactful striker. But all this talk about them being successful, all this talk about success, they could still, a couple bad games, they could drop down to 6th. That's how crazy it is. And a team that I think could capitalize and that I want to see capitalize is Fiorentina. A bit of bias because they signed David De Gea, you know, former Manchester United player. I've always been a fan of De Gea. I don't think we ever should have let him go. He was one of the best. He was the best player, the best goalkeeper in the world at some point. But Fiorentina, they signed De Gea, and they've been flying so far this season, especially compared to their past seasons. They've had a few rocky seasons. They were close to the relegation zone. They were near the bottom of the league. But this season, it's been stunning, honestly. And a lot of it is down to Moise Kean. Moise Kean, a striker they signed, and he got off to a flyer, scoring a hat-trick in a 3-1 win over Hellas Verona. And so far, he's had 12 goals in all competitions so far. And this is his best start in the Serie A. And he's currently competing with someone else that I'll get onto. He's Atalanta striker Matteo Retegui. These Italian names are going to butcher us today. But he's competing with the Atalanta striker for the Serie A top scorer position. And Fiorentina, it's a club with a lot of history. They have a big footballing history in their club. And then this season, they're looking to capitalize on that history and bring actual current success to that history. Moise Kean is a special player, and it's really nice to see him finally flourishing, especially since he's had such a difficult time in the past. In Everton, there was this one instance in Everton where he was subbed in for the game and then subbed out 10 minutes later. You know, in a soccer game, usually when you sub in, you're in for the game.
Yeah.
Because there's limited amount of subs. But he got subbed in and subbed out in the 10 minutes. And that must have been... He talked about how difficult that was for his mentality. And since that, he's matured through Serie A, Liga, and the Premier League. And now with Fiorentina's coach, the head coach, he's making strides this season in the Serie A. Currently, Fiorentina are sitting at second place, if I'm not wrong. And they'll be looking to move up the table.
I'm going to give just some general insight. I think it's so underappreciated what it does for a player when they're in a particular system where, you know, they're in a very, I guess, competitive window and it doesn't allow them to get much playing time or their reps are lowered. And that just, like you said, it throws off their mentality, it throws off their confidence. People don't appreciate enough what it means to go to the right system, to be under the right coach, to have the proper reps, to be able to fall under a legitimate development program, to be able to enhance your skills. So I think for Moise Kean, that was absolutely huge for him, his career. And yeah,
of course. Fiorentina aside, we talked about Moise Kean and the person he's competing with for the Serie A top scorer position, and that player plays for Atalanta. Atalanta have always been one of my favorite Serie A teams. My favorite team, Manchester United, we've signed quite a lot of players from them. Højlund, we signed from Atalanta. Amad Diallo, we signed from Atalanta. And they've always had exciting players. They had Duvan Zapata for a while playing for them. That Colombian strike partnership, if you played FIFA, they were pretty iconic on FIFA. Zapata and Muriel up top. Muriel with the pace, Zapata with the power. And it was a fun strike partnership, but now that's aged out. Both those players have been sold. They're not at the club anymore. And they have brought in Matteo Retegui, and he's been a revelation this season. Atlanta's season started off with some difficulty. Their main striker, Gianluca Scamacca, tore his ACL in preseason. He tore his ACL, and he was basically out for a big portion of the season. So he's out for 6 months. And to replace him, they brought in Matteo Retegui, who had shown some promise at some different teams, but he was never this superstar. He was a young, promising player they were hoping could help them. What helped them with some goals this season? They signed him for 25 million, and that seems like a bargain right now. And right now, he's been phenomenal. You know, he's leading the race for a top scorer. He had some early difficulties in the Serie A. First with Genoa, and he only scored 7 goals in 29 games to begin his season. But he's been a breakthrough under Gasperini at Atlanta. He scored 11 goals in his first 12 games. It's an amazing ratio. Those are like Erling Haaland numbers. And he's been key due to his work rate, especially because Atlanta runs a high-pressing system. And this high-pressing system, he's the focal point of it. You know, the pressing starts from the striker. If the striker is not pressing, everyone else pressing is going to lead to nowhere. Everyone has to press together. And his work ethic on the field has really impacted the wins that Atlanta have been able to put together this season. Another key thing has been his partnership with Ademola Lookman. The Nigerian international has also just evolved since leaving Leicester. Premier League fans will remember at Leicester, you know, he was at Leicester for a bit. He went to Fulham. He missed the penalty. He was laughed at. But then he went to the Italian leagues, and he's been dominating there. Lookman helped Atlanta win their first European title last season, scoring a hat-trick in the final. It was a crazy performance. And he'll be looking to help them get more wins this season. You know, they're eyeing the Scudetto as our 6 other teams. And hopefully, Atlanta fans will be hoping that that partnership of Lookman and Retegui can propel them there. Okay. Any other team you want to touch up on just real quick? We do have Inter Milan.
Yeah.
Inter Milan, one of our favorites because we have a Armenian international playing for them. So we're always going to be a bit biased. But it's been good to see their consistency, honestly. I don't think they'll win it this season, but they have a very consistent midfield, a very consistent attack force. But my worry is with them that they're aging out just a bit. You know, Mkhitaryan's pushing, he's 35.
Yeah.
Çalhanoğlu's aged out. They're still very good players, but in a couple of years they might not be. Their future is not as bright as some other teams. Their striker, Lautaro Martinez, he's amazing in the Serie A, but also he's getting pretty old. Not old, but old in soccer terms. He's 28. He still has 5 very good years to give them, but we'll see how Inter Milan can strike on from here. Okay, we're going to take a quick music break, and when we get back, we're going to give you our award predictions for the NBA season so far. Okay, we're back. We're back with our award predictions. This is just 1 month into the season, barely. So, you know, these are obviously subject to change. But let's start with Rookie of the Year. We're not going to spend too much time on this because we did cover some rookies in a previous episode that you can go check out if you're interested. But some developments have happened since then. So give me, who's your favorite rookie right now?
Originally, my pick, I said it on the episode that you were referencing, I had said Zach Edey. And that's not like outrageous because he's still playing phenomenal right now. Like you said, he's brought a massive impact to Memphis, who's been looking for a true center for years now. Rebounding the ball very well, defensive anchor, playing very well in the short roll on offense. He can low-key if he gets that 2 attempts per game, he can knock his shots down. He's been hitting some threes, but Zach Edey's been great, and he's still my pick right now, but the new person that you were referencing is Jared McCain. At the time that we had filmed that episode, we had mentioned a bunch of different guys, and he wasn't one of them. Since then, he's had an insane hot streak that's propelled him to now number 1 in the Rookie of the Year race in terms of betting odds, and it's not even outrageous to say that. He's had 5 straight games over 20 points, 5 straight games over 20 points, and he really looks like the only one that's giving Philly any life, because Paul George and Embiid are battling with their injuries, and they're very rusty and inconsistent. Maxi's out for 6 weeks, so Jared McCain is the number 1 guy they're looking to right now, and he is delivering. It's just the rest of Philly, I don't know if they're a cursed franchise. Their depth guys are not stepping up as much. Again, Embiid, Maxi, Paul George yet to stay on the court together. But yeah, McCain's been amazing. What do you like from the rookie class so far?
I mean, yeah, just to touch on McCain, you know, yesterday it was a difficult game again. Another loss for the Sixers, but they kept that streak of Jared McCain scoring 20 plus scoring. He barely got 20. And last time we were filming this, he wasn't even on our radar. You know, he was probably averaging about like 6 7 points per game. Right now he's up to over 15 points per game. A crazy hot stretch for him, and Sixers fan will be hoping he can keep up. Obviously less shots, probably less production, but hopefully a similar impact once all the Sixers are back and healthy. You know, with Embiid coming back, Embiid hasn't looked great either. Did you see on the timeline people were comparing Embiid to Pirtle, saying Pirtle's better?
No, he literally is, though. Yo, Embiid shot, I think, 0 free throws in this most recent game, and guess how many points he ended up with? 11. I've been saying it for so long now. Embiid lives off those free throws. No one is changing my mind otherwise.
Well, you're a certified Embiid hater. You've stated so on this show. So your takes have to be taken with a bit of, you know, a pinch of salt. But yeah, Jared McCain's been great. Another rookie who I have liked, but I thought it was really funny to mention him because last time we posted our rookie rankings, we had a fan commenting, "What about Alex Sarr?" And Alex Sarr, I pretended to not know who Alex Sarr is, and I did a bit of trolling on our Instagram, which you can follow, by the way, FNTN_podcast, W plug. But Alex Sarr, I just want to give him a shout out. He recently had the best game of his season so far. He had 20 points, he had 4 steals, 3 blocks, and 7 rebounds. A really good stat line for him, and just Wizards fans will be hoping to see more production from their young guns.
I like Sarr too, but it's just his consistency that's really, really scary, at least on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, you're going to trust them to get the rebounds. You're going to trust them to, just like Edey, be a force on that side of the ball. But it's the offensive ceiling that people were hyping up a lot too in the draft, and he just has not met it at a consistent rate for number 2 overall pick. But he's a rookie. He'll get through.
Yeah. What's the next award you want to move on to?
All right, we are going to do an award that is very under the radar, I feel, nowadays, because we want to talk about the players. How about the people running the sideline, manning the sideline? Coach of the Year. Give me your favorite right now.
I think one of my favorite coaching plays so far has to be from, I think JB Bickerstaff has done a good job this year.
That's a good pick.
A couple of his sideline out of bounds plays, you know, won them some games, and it was just really impressive to see how coaching really translates on the court. Coaching can win you games, and we saw. Did you see last week how coaching can lose you games with Eric Spoelstra and that horrendous call?
Bro, I was actually dying when I saw that, because this guy walked on the court so confidently. He's like, "All right, boys, let's drop this next play." Brother, you have no timeouts. It was so funny.
It was very embarrassing for them. But yeah, JB Bickerstaff and the Pistons, they've been quite sneaky good. I can't say sneaky good, but productive. They've been productive because in the East, even if you have a negative record, you're going to be in the playoffs right now. And it's just really impressive to see how coaching can impact winning. That's my main thing.
And with Bickerstaff, one thing I want to say is that he's the perfect coach when you're trying to hit the ground running on a rebuild, retool, whatever you want to call it. He did that when he took over the Cavs job in 2020. He helped develop a lot of those younger guys. Allen was becoming more of a force. Darius Garland, who some people thought he'd be out of the league after his rookie year. JB Bickerstaff helped him. And he raised their floor and ceiling every year to like a perennial playoff contender. Obviously, last year I think he caught way too much flack because he ran into the Celtics, who was stopping them. But I thought he shouldn't have been fired, but that's kind of crazy to say now because of how Kenny Atkinson is doing for Cleveland. But yeah, JB Bickerstaff's a great pick.
We'll get on to Kenny Atkinson in a second because I think he has to be the runaway actual winner for Coach of the Year.
It's unanimous right now. Like, I can't argue that. You start off 16-0. Like, everyone is playing at such a high level. Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland finally look like they're gelling together. Mobley, that was one thing that Kenny Atkinson was raving about when he first got the job. Evan Mobley's potential on the offensive side of the ball, which hadn't been seen in recent years, but now he's like a lock for 18 points per game, and he's obviously one of the top defensive players in all of basketball. Jared Allen's playing his role phenomenally. But one guy that I really want to give a shout out to outside of JJ Redick, because I did that in the first episode, is Ime Udoka.
I thought you were going to say Joel Mazzulla. I was going to hit you.
Nah, he won't get his respect because the Celtics are a very talented team. But Ime Udoka, a former Celtics guy, love him to death. But he's changed the Rockets. I mean, what were they 2 years ago before he got the job? A 15-win team. Looked like all their talent were a bunch of busts. He comes into the equation, and they instantly go from a 15-win team to a 41-win team. If the West wasn't so competitive last year, he would have been a playoff lock, basically. And this year, they had a bit of a slow start, but now they're really picking it up. They've had 5 wins in a row. Their offensive consistency is a little bit iffy, but you can see the progression in terms of the ceiling from guys like Jalen Green, Jabari Smith Jr., even Amen Thompson, who had some really rough shooting struggles. He's picked it up this year. I really love what Ime Udoka's doing, and obviously his brand of coaching is tough-nosed, hard, gritty defense, and that's what they are. He's turning guys like Amen Thompson and Tari Eason into all defensive caliber guys, and Şengün is Şengün.
They just have so much talent on that team. I think they're a team who could definitely benefit from the, we say addition by subtraction. They could definitely benefit from maybe trading a Dillon Brooks, even though he is a very good player, very good defender. But trading a Dillon Brooks to open up more minutes, more spots for their younger players. You mentioned Tari Eason and Amen Thompson coming off the bench. Imagine you're playing against the starters. The starters are giving you their all, and then 2 lockdown defenders check into the game.
Yeah.
It's really difficult if you're the opposing team. They did lose last night to the Bucks. I don't know if you saw that game. It was a really, really crazy ending.
It was just an ending where, like, Dame
took over.
Like, he just had to,
Finally.
yeah. Giannis got that block because it's Giannis, and then Dame got that crazy finish because he's Dame. It's just one of those unfortunate endings. But
I mean, I think after that win, you just have to give Coach of the Year to Doc Rivers.
I just looked at you for a straight second. I was about to smack you over the screen.
No, never Doc. But usually, Coach of the Year does go to the team with the best record, or like a really good record, and right now that is the Cavs, and we can't really see it going any other way, realistically.
Unless they have just some like major collapse throughout the season, which I highly doubt. But they play the Celtics tonight. Keep your eye out on that Celtics upset. Watch it.
So hopefully a good performance from the Celtics bench, because I just picked up Sam Hauser from waivers on my fantasy team, so I perform.
He's been cooked this year after getting that bag. Anyways, speaking of Celtics talk, Sixth Man of the Year is an award, again, that's flown under the radar for many years because we saw guys like Lou Williams constantly win it, and then you really don't give that much attention to bench guys. But now in the modern NBA, it's become more important than ever. If you do not have solid depth, if you do not have solid guys who are going to give you sparks in the second unit, you are not going to compete in today's NBA. So let's talk sixth man of the year. Give me your favorite right now.
I think you'll get onto the favorite in a second. You know, your guy, Peyton Pritchard. But someone who definitely deserves a shout is Buddy Hield. You know, we talked about signings and impact on their teams. Buddy Hield has had a phenomenal impact on the Warriors so far. There's that viral clip of, you see, Curry passing it to Klay Thompson and no one was there. That went viral on TikTok. And people were saying, oh, Buddy Hield's never going to be able to fill his shoes. But Buddy Hield has done amazing so far. You know, he is the only two players in the 2020s with more than 1,000 made threes.
Damn.
And you guess then who the other player is?
Steph.
It is Steph.
Yeah.
Now we have both those players playing on the same team. He's currently hitting 50% of his three-pointers, attempting 13.3 per 75 possessions, which is a crazy amount. He's attempting them and they're going in, so why not keep attempting them, you know what I mean? And he really does attack the rim efficiently too, so he can get to the rim when he wants to. But the main thing with Buddy is, and has always been, consistency. We've seen this from Buddy, right? He was on the Blazers, he was a flamethrower, he couldn't be stopped. He was giving you 30-point games, 35-point games. He was averaging like 18 points per game on crazy good shooting efficiency. And then last season he got traded to the Sixers. He started off okay, and then in the playoffs he was unplayable. So he was so bad. He completely fell out of the rotation. He wasn't even a rotational player anymore for a not that deep Sixers team. And now this year he got traded to the Warriors, and he's looking to revive his career, and he's succeeded so far.
This is like the Steve Kerr prototype too. It's like I already know when Steve Kerr saw him on the free agent market, he was like, pick up the phone right now, because he runs that motion offense, those split screens, getting out to the corners quick, flare screen actions, and Buddy Hield just fits into that mold perfectly. I haven't seen him this comfortable since his college days back at Oklahoma when he was like a top 6 pick. But sorry, I cut you off there.
No, yeah, and even defensively, he's been pretty good too.
Yeah.
He's been pretty good defensively. When he's on the court, the Warriors are in the 90th percentile defensively, and that is partly because he does play with Draymond Green, and Draymond Green is a very good defender. He a potential defensive player of the year candidate this year. Hint, hint. But no, he brings a lot of high-level production. And one thing that the Warriors can say right now is they can look at this Buddy Hield project objectively, because with Klay Thompson there was a lot of financials attached, and there were a lot of emotional strings attached too. You know, you drafted him, he's been with you for a time, you owe some loyalty to him. The Warriors don't owe anything to Buddy Hield. He performs well, they keep him. He doesn't perform well, they can drop him out of the rotation, they can trade him. So I think it's a good situation for the Warriors, and it's a great situation for Buddy Hield, as he'll hope to win that award this year.
All right, so you rightfully so, deservedly so, just praised Buddy Hield. He was one of the top 3 picks objectively and on betting odds. But one guy that I want to give a huge shout out to is Benedict Mathurin on the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers are so well known for their offensive identity, and Benedict Mathurin is a huge part of that. Last year, they were busting their tails off competing against the Celtics. Even though they were the only team in the playoffs to not get a win versus them, they were the hardest series by far. Like, if you just watch the games, it always came down to the wire. But you know who was missing that series? It was Benedict Mathurin, who was one of their best closers in clutch time, because Halliburton hasn't really been that. Siakam's been nice closing out. But Benedict Mathurin's been taking a lot of clutch shots, and he's averaging 20 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, on a very efficient 54% from the field. So he's contributing a lot for this Indiana Pacers team, a legitimate building block for their future, and there's no reason why he shouldn't be in legitimate contention if the Pacers can pick up in terms of their team record, because that does account for whatever reason into so many awards. But yeah, And then, can we say who our favorite is right now? 3, 2, 1.
Jonathan
Peyton Pritchard.
Muggle.
Oh,
No.
damn it, man! You had me.
Peyton Pritchard.
Yes.
For sure.
But no, Pritchard's been incredible this year off the bench for the Celtics. Obviously, he's really picked up his stride after last year's playoffs because he was trusted in so many big-time moments. This guy now is like a lock to get a half-court shot, a buzzer-beater shot at the end of every damn quarter.
People were arguing, they were like, if it was a half-court shot, a buzzer beater, would you want Peyton Pritchard on it or Kevin Durant? Now,
Bro,
the real
Pritchard.
argument, yeah, it's like his numbers show that Pritchard is probably the better pick for that.
He's averaging 16 points per game off the bench, which is insane because the Celtics are such a deep team from 1 to 5 and then their whole bench. Like, obviously Porzingis isn't playing, so that's a factor. Holiday's missed some games, Brown's missed some games, but that does not take away from what Pritchard is doing, bringing the spark off the bench. Elite three-point shooter, great playmaker, and very consistent. Like, I could argue he's the most consistent Celtic technically this year. But yeah, Peyton Pritchard, I like that. 6th man of the year behind Jonathan Mogbo.
Of course. But yeah, with Pritchard, it's his timeliness too. Just last week, in the game against the Bucks, the Celtics had a slow start. The Celtics you guys had a slow start, and the person who kept you in the game in the first half was Peyton Pritchard all by himself. He scored 17 points just in the first half, and that kept you neck to neck with the Bucks until in the second half, Tatum, Brown, your stars took over and won that game for you. But his timeliness is crazy, and his work ethic has to be appreciated because I'm sure you remember a few seasons ago he was in trade talks. He wanted a different change of scenery. He wasn't getting the playing time. He was hinting through his dad on Twitter or something that he needs to go to a different place, and he was liking those tweets like he wanted out. And Celtics decided to stick by him, and Pritchard played himself into a potentially award-winning position, and it's just really a testament to his work. Did you hear an interview with Drew Holiday? Holiday was saying they have this one exercise,
Yes,
the
I know
training
where
drill,
you're
where it's
going.
literally called "Stop Pritchard."
Yeah.
And that's the entire thing, and that's crazy to have that.
Dude, he's like so speedy, amazing low handle. Like, you do not see this guy turn the ball over, and he can make quick reads on the fly. He's very strong for his size, and like you said, his work ethic off the court, but also on the court, super underrated offensive rebounder too. And that's one of the philosophies of the Joe Mazzulla system. It's corner crashing from the guards, and Pritchard does that at a very high level. So yes, finally we got some Celtics glaze on here. The one time you'll ever see Haig doing that. Thank you.
Yeah, I've seen Pritchard win Celtics a game firsthand against my Raptors when we went to that Celtics versus Raptors game.
Bro, that fourth quarter.
He popped off in the fourth quarter, so I know very well what he can do.
Man.
Okay, let's get a move on to our MIP.
MIP.
On to our MIP candidate. Now, this is an award I have some opinions on. I love the idea of MIP. I hate the execution of MIP.
That's a perfect way, yeah.
I hate when a sophomore year player wins MIP because it's like your rookie season. You're better than your rookie season.
Shocker.
Like I would hope so. Please, like yes. And like so that's why like as good as players like Grady Dick have been, or Weber Yaba have been, this award isn't like meant for them, or even J Dub. This award. It's not the spirit of the award. The award is for players who, out of nowhere, just pop off. Like Lauri Markkanen, he had an all-star season. Siakam, who else? Oladipo that one season. Like players like that. That's what I like about the award. And keeping that in mind, who's your favorite to win this award this season?
My favorite? Should we hold off on the favorite and just do an honorable mention? Or?
Give me a good mention.
A very good mention I like is Jalen Johnson from the Atlanta Hawks. Okay, this season the Hawks had a lot of question marks coming into the year because they traded away DeJounte Murray after the whole Trae Young debacle, and then everyone was questioning what that was going to do for them on the offensive side of the ball. even though, yes, Trae Young is a premier offensive talent, but Jalen Johnson has stepped it up, man. Like, he's averaging 20 points per game, 10 rebounds a game, 6 assists per game, and 48% from the field, and 38% from three. Jalen Johnson has raised his offensive ceiling so much that I don't even think this is the best version we're going to see of him in the next, 5 years. I know that sounds very generic to say, but he could end up being an all-star this year if the Atlanta Hawks, again, gain some more relevancy, because that's the type of year he's having. Last year, he was just kind of under the shadow of those two guards, and he'd have the flashes, but it wasn't the consistency. Now you're seeing him contribute very heavily on both sides of the ball, and Atlanta's won a lot of clutch time games because of him. So Jalen Johnson, major shout out. But let's switch over to you.
My player is a player with Raptor ties, Raptor affiliation, and I really like Norman Powell. I mean, it's been said a lot this season, but just the role he was able to take with Kawhi not being there. He talked his talk, and now he's backing his talk. With Kawhi and Paul George leaving, he said, more shots for me, and he stepped that up. Obviously, more shots for me, you'd think he would average more points. That's natural. But I think where the most improved comes into play is the efficiency that has not dropped with it. Usually you see people start chucking shots, their points go up, but their efficiency goes down. He's been crazy efficient still. He's been able to carry this Clippers offense along with James Harden. And I think they just work really good in tandem together, because he's a crazy good off-ball player too.
Yeah.
Norman Powell doesn't need to have the ball. He's not going to bring the ball up the court and facilitate the offense. Leave that to Harden. He's going to make his shots. He's going to cut to the rim. He's going to have some ferocious dunks when he has a clear path, and he's going to make the Clippers surprisingly fun this year.
Yeah. I mean, Kawhi, apparently, I saw a report he's not even close to a return, so that means more reps for Norman Powell, but he just has that it factor, too. Like, you were talking about his confidence, talking about when Paul George departed in the offseason, but you see it on the court, too. Like, he is not afraid to take that big-time shot in the clutch out of Harden's hands. He's not afraid to go to the rim fearlessly, put his body on the line. He's got a couple charges this year. Like, I love that pick, but I think, let's say it on three, who you think it's going to be favorite. 1, 2, 3, J-Dub.
I don't know. J-Dub?
Really? I think it's be J-Dub.
From a statistical standpoint, I understand it, but I don't want it to be J-Dub.
I don't want it to be J-Dub, but I'm just thinking of the NBA mentality. Oh, he's on an OKC 1-seed team. And honestly, he has improved a lot, because one of the biggest criticisms was he's not that good of a shooter. But man, he's stepped up the three-point efficiency this year. He's second on the Thunder in scoring, and low-key, with Chet and Ihart out, he's technically playing the 5 now. So the fact that he's actually holding his own defensively on that side is going to give him a little bit more hype too. But I don't want it to be J-Dub.
I understand what you're saying, because from a production and win standpoint, they've definitely improved. But even just from a statistical standpoint, when you look at it, last year J-Dub averaged 19. This year J-Dub's averaging 20. 1 point improvement. Are we going to give the award for that?
I guess it's the efficiency standpoint.
Efficiency, yes, of course. And also impact of the versatility of being able to play. I have him on fantasy. He's listed as shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center. So I can start him in any position I want. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, players like J-Dub, players like Cade's in the betting odds. Why is a first overall pick in the contention for
even LaMelo? We've known LaMelo is a super talented player, but yes, he's having a much better season than previous years, but that's just because he's excelling from star to superstar. He's already been an all-star before. So, like you said, I think you nailed it. The execution of the award is really bad.
I think for the spirit of the game, we have to try to give it to someone like Norman Powell or Jalen Johnson or even RJ Barrett. Shout out to him. He's been pretty good.
Yeah, RJ Barrett's been hooping. Yeah.
Let's get on to the big one. the couple big ones. We have Defensive Player of the Year, and we have MVP, and we have 5 minutes to get through it.
Okay.
So quickly, give me your DPOY.
I think we know the lazy answer, what it's going to be. It's Victor Wembanyama. I mean, he had that mentality coming into this season saying, last year Gobert could have it, but for the next 10, 15 years, so long as I'm in the league, it's going to be mine. And he's proving it. 3.7 blocks, 1.3 steals per game. Just an absolute animal, like 7'4". He's going to do his job protecting the paint. He's kept up better on the perimeter this year. That was one of the question marks considering his slower lateral speed. But yeah, I think that's the lazy answer. I want to hear a really nice shout out for another guy that you have.
That is a lazy answer, but it's probably the right answer. It's probably what's going to end up happening. He's like, for betting odds, he's like a minus 160 for betting odds, so like he's like heavily favored to win it. But I'd like to see it to go to someone a bit more different. Shout out to Dyson Daniels.
I love that pick.
He has been just putting up crazy steals numbers, and even if you just don't look at the numbers, look at the game, you can see his impact on the defensive side. The Hawks have seamlessly replaced DeJounte Murray, I would say. And having this level of a defender next to Trae Young can really help make up for Young's defensive liabilities.
Yeah. He's leading the league in deflections by far, and like the steal numbers are crazy. But even just thinking about it from the game standpoint, he gets the clutch time steals. He's always facing up the number one. You know how they won their most recent game? Off a Dyson Daniel rip. Like, I'm forgetting who they played, but like he literally ripped the ball down at the end to win them the game on a final possession. So that's a great pick. Otherwise, I'd probably say someone like Evan Mobley, who's leading the charge on a top 3 defense this year. He's been really good. He's been amazing. Anthony Davis is another good mention too.
And also, just Chet before his injury was definitely in contention for that. It's sad that he was out, but maybe when he comes back, I'm not sure if he'll meet the games played quota still.
Yeah.
But we'll see when he comes back what his impact is and how he's doing. Okay, and finally for the big one, the MVP. Who do you have winning it so far?
I don't even think it's close right now. It's Nikola Jokic. Like, I don't care what voter fatigue has to say. I don't care what the media has to say. It's going to be Nikola Jokic because he's on a historic run, which is crazy to say because we know what type of player he is in the biggest moments. But 30 points per game, 14 rebounds per game, 12 assists, and very incredible efficiency. 56, 85. Like, come on, man. But the Nuggets are a disaster of a team on the non-Jokic minutes. Like, you genuinely see how bad the Nuggets are without him. He's initiating everything on offense, playmaking, scoring, offensive rebounding. But that's just the lazy pick, but it's like the unanimous pick. What about you?
In the past, like, we've seen this award go to like just the best player. They give him MVP, like, here, you're the MVP of the league, you're the best player. But I like that right now it's most valuable because you can see how much value Jokic has to the team. And without him, they're a disaster. Yeah. My MVP, I want to give him a shout out because he was really good this season. Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Before he went down with his injury, he was averaging 27 points per game. And he's not out for too long. He should be back later on this week. And hopefully he'll bounce back and add some more wins to the Suns because without him, the Suns have been 4-5, I think. So not the greatest record. And with him, they were off to like an 8-2 start. So hopefully he can come back, propel the Suns to more wins, and hopefully he can stay healthy because he hasn't been able to do that very consistently in the past 5 years. Last year was his first like healthy season for a while. So we're going to hope to see a healthy KD. And I like this version of KD. You know, on the Warriors, he was okay. On the Nets, he was fun on the Nets. But they added a lot of drama with Kyrie and Harden and stuff. But I like him on the Suns. He
always bounces back from these injuries, which is the crazy part. I didn't know how he'd be after the Achilles a couple of years ago, but Father Time does not get this man. Another shout out, though, Jason Tatum. I know we only have like 20 seconds left, but it's my goal.
Tatum's never going to be the most valuable just because he has so much
Yeah.
so much power on his team. So I
Same
think that
thing with
hinders him.
Missoula. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's all. With another great episode today. We'll leave it at that, and we'll see you next week for our All-Star predictions.
It's more than just a game.